As are you, I'm sure. But you got here. Thank you so much for coming.
No problem. Thank you so much for inviting me. I definitely wanted to return the favor. As I said, my students enjoyed having you so much. That was something that they really just are still talking about. So.
Yeah, that's cool. We'd like to come back.
I plan on inviting you back in the spring, actually. I have dibs on this class for as long as I want it. So I'm hoping to be teaching it for another couple of semesters.
That's great.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a good time, so we'll come back. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm still allergies, mold spores. You know, I wish. See, if we could get some good snow.
Enough stuff hasn't died off yet.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's been a really warm.
It's supposed to Saturday.
Is it supposed to snow?
I did just hear that today.
Wow.
It is supposed to snow on Saturday.
But it's been such a warm fall that I think
Now the
you know,
50s when it's supposed to be 30s.
yeah, and it's just once the snow falls and everything gets really cold, it goes
And
away.
the longer it stays warmer, the lower your heating bill will
Well, that's
be.
true.
That's another way of
That's
looking
true.
at it.
Yeah, but anyway, if it's not one thing, it's another.
It's always something, sure.
But anyway, but yeah, we'd love to come back. That was fun, and we will do that again.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a good thing. We do it a lot. We do the various colleges around here. UConn that was our first time at UConn.
Yeah, that was our
which
first time at UConn. I was talking to someone who was taking classes at Avery Point, but we didn't get there this semester.
Yeah. But UConn's a really cool school. So we'll be back. And we actually have a phone call, apparently.
All right.
Wow. And we'll take it, in fact.
There you go. You're the one near the phone.
Good evening, nlcTrans. You're on the air?
Yes, hello. I have a question for the professor.
Sure.
I'm interested in what, if it starts when you're young, and it's supposed to be in your chemical makeup to want to transition completely, then what's the difference between a person that wants to only play as a female but keep his male parts? And what is the difference between, if we keep providing this to younger generations, like on Family Guy, you see him come out with a dress on, you see Taco Bell commercials, it's starting to get out there. I've seen another cartoon with a guy dressed as a girl quick. But what I'm trying to understand is, are the people afraid that we're trying to promote it to the young people, like it's okay? And I can understand you want to be able to say it's okay, but at the same time, are we starting to go, is it getting commercialized? And with it being commercialized, I can understand it becoming more socially acceptable, but at the same time, is the other half of the country think we're promoting it now instead of just saying be who you are?
That's definitely one of the fears when the folks that don't support what we would like to call equality go out and protest. What you generally hear is a fear that we're going to be corrupting their children, that somehow their children are.
And is it possible to actually be letting a child say that, well, because I feel that way now, I might go that direction? Or does it change? Does it change from childhood? Can you be feminine in childhood and not be feminine in your adulthood?
Well,
Sure.
Certainly developmental psychology would you'd really want to talk to somebody who can specialize in that. In this country, we don't let children go through any kind of medical or surgical transitions. But we do encourage kids to explore and to use their imagination and to express themselves. And, it's certainly possible that as they're growing up, as they're 5, 6, 7, 12, 14, 18, 22, they're still figuring out who they are. They're still figuring out what identity fits. And that may mean that they go through a phase where they look at themselves and they say, maybe I'm gay. And they may try that on for a couple years and realize, no, that's not quite right. I just like a more feminine, sort of, I don't know if you're familiar with the phrase metrosexual.
Yes.
Yeah, so
polyamory or something like that too.
Well, polyamory is being in a relationship with, being in a loving relationship with more than one person at the same time.
Oh, I I thought there was a real estate agent that was saying he goes both ways, but it was more poly. He says he can love either sex. That's what he was talking about. You use poly something for.
Sure, just sort of meaning multiple, I suppose. But it's sort of part of growing up, figuring out who you are, trying on different identities until you find the one that really sort of fits. It's certainly feasible that kids will. Certainly kids go through a rebellious phase before they sort of grow up and realize that you can get more done sort of working within the system.
Right.
There's a lot of changes kids go through growing up.
Yeah, if you look at kind of the numbers of children who are diagnosed at a very young age with gender identity disorder, you definitely do see that some of them go on to transition, some of them go on to identify as gay or lesbian, and some of them kind of eventually just come to accept their biological sex as fitting with their gender identity. One of the more important things, though, recently is there's been kind of less use of aversion therapy and less putting children into therapy and kind of teaching them to be boys or teaching them to be girls that fit their biological sex. And there's been a kind of a greater movement towards letting kids experience that transgender identity. There was a great 2020 special on transgendered children that I showed in my class. That is, and when you see these kids living so happily as their preferred gender instead of their biological sex, it really is undeniable that identity starts that young.
And okay, one last question. Mm-hmm. Does it progress the more you do it? If you cross-dress, will it progress the more you do it? Or if you're never around people that are comfortable with that, will you always have to hide it and stay there where you don't, where if I was around friends that were like that, then you would be more comfortable and progress to furthering the whole sex change? Or how does that work?
Certainly being around people that are supportive of you and what you want to do with your life is going to be a positive impact on you. If you're surrounded by people that disagree with you and what you want to do with your life, then that's going to have a detriment. It's going to be an aversion.
Sure.
You're going to end up hiding it. What Renee was talking about earlier with her parents. Mm-hmm. Her parents were very much against it, and so she kept it hidden and she suppressed it for years and years, and that's a.
But is it okay to suppress it? That's what
No, it's not.
When it's genuine, no, it's a psychological and an emotional distress, just like any kind of depression, any kind of emotional stress in your life. It eats away at you. It wears away at you.
If you still didn't want to make the complete transition, why would you tell anyone?
There's a number of people out there that just don't feel like they should have to hide, that they should have to keep them to keep part of who they are hidden in a corner somewhere. There are certainly cross-dressers out there, people, generally men, who enjoy wearing women's clothes. Women have a lot of fabrics available to them that men don't get to wear typically, and that can be a very enjoyable experience for some of them. You also have more transgendered folks who may want a social transition but aren't looking for surgery. Surgery is very expensive. It's very dangerous. There can be serious health complications.
Sure.
Yeah. When you're looking.
Has there been any studies about cross-dressing, getting comfortable with other cross-dressers, and then wanting to take it further? That's what I'm saying.